Nobody buys a Toyota Corolla 2006 by accident. Think about that for a second. In a world full of shiny new cars, aggressive financing deals, and endless pressure to upgrade, some people look at all of that and quietly choose something else. They choose a car that was built 2 decades ago, a car that gets no second glances, a car that costs a fraction of what their salary could afford. And the question isn't why they couldn't do better. The question is, why didn't they want to? Because the answer tells you almost everything about who they are. Most people, if they're honest, have a picture in their head. The Corolla driver, cautious, uninspiring, maybe a little cheap, someone who plays it safe, blends into traffic, and doesn't think too deeply about what they drive. Society has decided that your car is a personality statement. And if your statement is a beige 2006 Corolla with 180,000 miles on it, well, society has already made up its mind about you. But here's the thing about assumptions. They're almost always built on the surface of something much deeper. That explanation misses something important. The real story isn't that these people couldn't think of anything better. The real story is that they thought about it very carefully and made a completely different calculation than most people ever do. Let's start with identity, because this is where it gets interesting. Most consumer decisions, especially big ones, are really identity decisions. You're not just buying a car, you're buying a version of yourself to show the world. The luxury SUV says, "I've arrived." The sports car says, "I'm still alive." The brand new truck says, "I work hard and I can prove it." But the person who drives a 2006 Corolla has done something psychologically unusual. They have separated their self-worth from their vehicle completely. And that kind of separation is rarer than you think. Imagine two friends, both 28 years old, both starting out in their careers. One stretches his budget, takes on a 5-year car payment, and drives something he's proud to be seen in. He feels confident. He feels like he's made it. The other buys a used Corolla for cash. No payments. He feels nothing in particular about the car. He parks it, walks away, and spends the mental energy he saved thinking about something else entirely. 10 years later, their financial situations look very different, and the gap didn't start with income. It started with how each of them thought about what a car was for. This is the first psychological signature of the Corolla driver. They are purpose-driven, not perception-driven. They buy a car to get somewhere, not to become someone. And that mindset, quietly, touches almost every corner of their life. Most people get this completely wrong. When people see someone driving an old car, the instinct is to assume financial struggle. But research on wealth behavior tells a different story. A surprising number of genuinely wealthy people drive ordinary, aging vehicles, not because they can't afford more, but because they've internalized something most people never do. Depreciation is one of the most expensive things you can buy. A new car loses a significant chunk of its value in the first few years. The 2006 Corolla, it already did that 20 years ago. The person driving it now is in a very real sense immune to that particular form of loss. They've bought a car that has already finished being expensive. There's a low risk tolerance here, but not in the way most people assume. These drivers aren't afraid of life. They're afraid of waste. They are allergic to spending money on things that don't deliver long-term value. And a depreciating status symbol to them is one of the least rational purchases imaginable. They are quiet contrarians. They have looked at the social pressure to upgrade, measured it against their own values, and calmly decided, no. Now contrast this with the person who leases a luxury vehicle every 3 years. This is not a criticism. The luxury driver has real motivations too. Professional image, personal reward, the genuine pleasure of driving something beautiful. Those things matter. They are real psychological needs. But the luxury driver is highly attuned to external signals. They are keenly aware of how others perceive them. They draw energy from being seen in a certain way. Their car is part of how they communicate status, taste, and success to the world. Here's the strange part. The Corolla driver is often equally successful, sometimes more so. They just don't need the car to say it. They get their confidence from somewhere the outside world can't easily see. From their savings account, from their freedom from payments, from knowing exactly who they are without needing the hood ornament to confirm it. One group uses cars as social currency. The other uses cars as transportation. And both of them are getting exactly what they want. There's a loyalty pattern here worth examining. Corolla drivers tend to keep things for a long time, not just cars, relationships, jobs, neighborhoods. They don't change for the sake of change. They resist novelty for its own sake. In psychology, this is sometimes associated with what researchers call a high conscientiousness profile. These are people who plan ahead, follow through, and find genuine satisfaction in reliability, both giving it and receiving it. They distrust flash. They trust track records. The 2006 Corolla has one of the best track records in automotive history. To the person driving one, that's not boring. That's the whole point. They chose the most proven option, the one with the most evidence behind it, and they feel completely at peace with that decision. They are not trying to impress you, and that paradoxically is often impressive. The Corolla was never really the point. Here's what the car is actually telling you about the person behind the wheel. They have made a quiet, radical decision to live on their own terms. In a culture that constantly tells you to upgrade, update, and upgrade again, they have looked at all of it and said, I know what I need, and this is enough. That takes more psychological confidence than most people realize. Because the pressure to conform, to buy the newer thing, the shinier thing, the thing that signals you're doing well, is relentless. Resisting it isn't laziness, it's clarity. These are people who have, often very consciously, decided that freedom matters more than appearance. That what they do with their money matters more than what their money looks like from the outside. And in a world that profits enormously from insecurity, from the fear of being seen as less than, choosing a 20-year-old Corolla and feeling completely fine about it is, in its own quiet way, an act of defiance. So the next time you see one of those old Corollas in the parking lot, faded paint, a small dent near the bumper, maybe a cracked side mirror held together by something creative, don't assume you know the story. You might be looking at someone who understands money better than most financial advisors. Someone who is completely unmoved by what the world thinks of their car. Someone who has quietly done the math on what actually matters and made peace with the answer. Some people use cars to tell the world who they are. Others use cars to get where they're going. And sometimes that single difference changes everything.